This is a video that I have avoided for like 2 years. The longer we were married, the more that desire in my heart began to be like kind of painful. I decided that I was going to be the biggest cheerleader and champion for all of my friends who were pregnant. And no one really knows, and if they do know, they don't get it. It's just, I understand. Like, I know what it feels like. I've been trying to make this video all day, and it's just like the enemy's been trying to stop me every single time I go to record this video. But I'm not gonna give up. I've put it off for a lot of reasons. As you saw in the title, this video is about my experience with waiting on motherhood. I already feel tears. Why? Oh my gosh. I've avoided this for so long because it's so personal to me. I've shared a little bit about on Instagram, but not like the depths of it. I did not expect to like already be this emotional like 5 seconds into the video. Let's take a coffee break so I can get myself together. Okay. I have always wanted to be a mom. I even remember when I was like 13, I put a pillow in my shirt and I went downstairs to my dad. I was like, hey dad, I'm pregnant. And I got in so much trouble. He was so mad at me. He was like, Caitlin, we do not joke about that in this house. You were 13 years old. You were not allowed to be pregnant. Whenever my mom and my dad would hire a babysitter for us whenever we were younger, I like wouldn't let the babysitter take care of my siblings because I was like, I'm gonna feed them dinner. I'm going to give them a bath. Like, these are my brothers, you know what I mean? And so I just like always wanted to be a mom. So when Carlos and I got married, I was like, all right, like, you wanna have a baby now? And he was like, no, homegirl, like, we're gonna wait 5 years. And I agreed. And like, you know, the first year of marriage, I would bring it up a lot, but it wasn't like super sad when he said no. And like, realistically, like, I knew that it wasn't the best time to have a baby. The longer we were married, the more that desire in my heart began to be like kind of painful. I really started like wondering why the Lord gave me this desire but like wasn't fulfilling it yet. I had wished that he would just take that desire away so that like I didn't have to like wish for something that I couldn't have right now. And I feel like that's kind of where this journey started for me. I should have put a disclaimer. Everybody's experience is different, and so this is not to say that like the advice or the encouragement I'm gonna give and like how I work through this will work perfectly for you, but I think that it could help you and it could give you a different perspective on your waiting season, whether you are waiting for motherhood or for something else. And I know that this is such a personal struggle for all of you who are in a waiting season, and so I want to be very careful about the words that I use, and I want to be sensitive to like what you may be going through as well. So when I noticed that I was like actually like genuinely very sad that I had this desire to be a mom, but I wasn't a mom yet, I brought it to Carlos and I told him. I remember we had a very long conversation and I cried so much because I think that was the first time that I told him like, this isn't just something that I bring up as a joke. It's not just like baby fever. That was a trigger for me. Like in my waiting season, someone saying that I had baby fever was so triggering because it's like, no, like a fever is something that comes and goes, and it's like an illness, you know, like a fever is caused by an illness. And I just felt like that phrase made me feel so invalidated. I forgot what I was saying, because that's just something that I would always get so upset about when people would be like, oh, does your wife have baby fever? It's like, no, children are an inheritance and a gift from the Lord, and like I desire this beautiful gift that the Lord has put on my heart. And so it's not a fever, it's a heavenly desire to have children. Okay, I'll leave that where it is. I don't want to get on too long of a tangent on that. I could talk about that for a long time. But I talked to Carlos. Where we landed the conversation was like, when it was God's timing for us to have a baby and start our family, we would be on the same page. I trust that if the Lord is calling us to do something together, Carlos's desire is going to be right there with mine. That was like step number one for me. It was like, I had to trust that if it's time, the Lord's going to put us like on the same page together. Does that make sense? I still struggled a lot for about a year. And then I came to this point, it was January of 2021. I actually really thought I was pregnant. We were actually visiting family in Florida when I found out that I was not pregnant. We got back home and we had a First Wednesday service at our church, and we had a guest speaker, and literally the title of the message was Stuck in the Waiting. Let me see if I have the notes from it. Where's my phone? I remember taking notes, and I was so mad. Like, I was livid that that was the sermon title, because that was not what I wanted to hear. Like, I wanted to hear, like, your time has come, or like a promise fulfilled. I did not want to hear stuck in the waiting. These are literally my notes from February 3rd, 2021. He said, God is working in the waiting. Our desires are tested in the waiting. Our character is developed in the waiting, and our motives are revealed in the waiting. He said, you have to want him, meaning Jesus, more than that. Like, my desire for Jesus should be so much stronger than my desire for a baby. And I felt so convicted. It was like that conviction of like, oh, like I really want to like push this away and like be stubborn in this, but I really felt like this would be where like I received breakthrough if I would just like allow the Lord to work on that part of my heart. And so this is how I got through my waiting season. I decided I was going to do 3 things. Number 1, I was going to become the best version of me that I could possibly be. Now obviously we're always growing, so like we never fully arrive. I know that. I decided, you know what, this is my waiting season, so why don't I make it productive? Why don't I make it purposeful? And so I really focused on getting myself healthy to be like the best me that I could be, and to prepare myself for motherhood in the future. The second thing I did was I decided I was going to be the best wife I could possibly be. What I focused on the most was like, this is the season of life where it is just me and my husband, and there are so many things that we can do and enjoy right now that we won't be able to do for the rest of our lives once we have kids. Like, there's a responsibility that comes with children that like even when they're grown and adults, you still have children. Like, they still need you, they still come to you for things. And so I was like, I'm going to soak up every moment of this waiting season with my husband. And there were days that it was still hard, yes, and like I still got sad sometimes, and that's okay. But my focus and like my perspective on that waiting season changed a lot when I decided to try to be the best wife that I could possibly be, and like prepare my marriage for parenthood one day. And then the third thing, this was the hardest thing. I decided that I was going to be the biggest cheerleader and champion for all of my friends who were pregnant. At the time that the waiting got the hardest for me, literally almost every single one of my friends got pregnant. And it was really hard. It was hard for me to be like, yeah, I'm happy for you. Like, I am so sad that I'm waiting, but like I'm happy for you. And sometimes it was superficial, like I had to make myself say it. But the more that I redirected my heart to be like, you know what, I can have joy and sorrow in the same place. Like, I can genuinely be happy for my friends who are living in what I so desire, while also acknowledging that like I'm sad, and like those two things can be together at the same time. During all of this, we went from an apartment to a rental house to living with our friends while building a house, and then we moved into our current house in May of 2021. Like, it was like May 1st of 2021. 3 weeks after we moved in, Carlos's family came to visit, and we were just talking about like when to start a family, you know. And so after his family left, I was talking to him. I was like, we did want to be in our house. We wanted to be around like 24 or 25 before we started having kids. Like, what do you think about starting to try soon? And he was like, you know what? It's May right now. Our 3rd anniversary is in August. Let's just start trying in August. Well, then, like 2 weeks later, I just had this random feeling that I should take a pregnancy test. So I took the test and it was positive. It's so hard to put into words how right it felt in that timing. Everything made sense. Like, I understood why God had us wait until that time. Just all the things, it all made sense when it happened, like why I had to wait. When you finally get to the fulfillment of what you're waiting on, whatever that desire is, it will make sense why you had to wait. And I can speak from experience, like now, like God put this video on my heart before I was ever even pregnant. Like, I had no idea that I was gonna be pregnant a month after he put this video on my heart. And then once I got pregnant, I just thought, it doesn't make sense to do it now because now I'm not waiting anymore. Like, it doesn't apply if I'm like already like pregnant and that's what I was waiting on. And then I had Issa and I was like, no, it really doesn't make sense. But I just can't get away from it, and I just really felt like maybe some of you could relate to how I felt in that waiting time. And I just want you to know that if you will really trust the Lord with this waiting season, and if you will allow Him to get you to a point to where you desire Him more than the thing you're waiting on, your waiting will become so much more purposeful, and you will have this joy that like it doesn't make sense. Like, you'll have this peace that does not make sense. If you're in a waiting season right now, I really, really want to pray for you, because I know how much it hurts. Like, I know that it's like this like pit in your stomach and like this like weight on your heart that you have to still function every day. You still have to act like you're okay and like do your everyday stuff, but it also feels like at the same time like life is moving by you and like you're at this standstill and no one really knows, and if they do know, they don't get it. It's just, I understand. Like, I know what it feels like, and I remember that feeling so vividly. And so I just would really love to pray for you if you are in the middle of that waiting right now. Just, you can even just like comment a heart. You don't even have to say like what exactly it is if you don't want to. And I just want you to feel encouraged in knowing that, man, God is so good and He's not holding out on you. He is like creating the best possible scenario for your desire to be fulfilled, and He has your best in mind. I really don't take it lightly that you guys have even taken the time to watch this video. It is hard to like put such personal information out there for everyone in the whole world to have access to, but I know that like we all have seasons of waiting at some point in our lives, and so I just wanted to share my story in hopes that it encourages you, helps you feel like you're not so alone in it. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.